I mean, we're not cavemen. We're not going out and getting a meal and killing something and bringing it home and then like, you should just love me.
Yeah.
Because I did this.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
It's a modern age now. You can't do that anymore. You can't sit on your laurels and think your wife's just going to appreciate you because of that.
No,
There's
it's
more.
like they can do it themselves. It's not like the 1950s, right? Where it's like women in business, like, what the hell is that? It's like that not only they're in business, but they're dominating this game as well, right? So it's like if you have that type of mindset, it's going to unravel very quickly. Because you're asking your wife to suppress herself, to suppress her ambitions and goals, and just love you unconditionally. So hardcore, man. I feel like going out and working out, bumping it in my car, all sorts of stuff. Welcome to another episode of Badass Agents. I am your host, AZ Araujo. And today, of course, Badass Agents podcast is brought to you by AZ and Associates Real Estate Group. So you haven't subscribed, rated, or reviewed to the Badass Agents podcast, I'm going to encourage you to do so. We have a lot of great content, including daily content that's put out there if you're in the real estate industry of any type. Title companies, mortgage companies, and real estate agents. I think all this information is very, very relevant to you. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take it one step further. If you're a small business owner, you will resonate. All we talk about will resonate with you. But today I have a special guest, and before I bring him on, I want to talk a little bit about making the same mistakes over and over and over again, right? And I remember I was so frustrated with having to learn the same lesson over and over that I journaled a simple phrase that has stuck with me to this day. And this was a couple of years ago. It says, quit making the old new again. Quit making the old story new again. And I think there's a sense of accomplishment that comes from that, right? Anytime that you're able to succeed at a certain level, we want to repeat that process. We want to, go back to that whole situation, and we want to recreate it. We want that because it feels so good. It gets the adrenaline pumping, right? The endorphins going. And what I realized is that I was winning at the same game over and over and over again, which kept me from really growing. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guest because I think you have a lot of insights. My guest today is none other than Mr. Jason Smith. Now, one thing about Jason, this is like we're breaking all rules here. You're actually the first non-agent to be invited to Badass Agents podcast. And I think after you watch this interview, you will know exactly why. Jason's an absolute badass. He's a badass mortgage broker, but not only that, he is a person that is committed to all facets of his life. Jason, welcome, man. I appreciate you coming and doing this.
Thanks for having me, Aziz.
So you heard there, and we're not going to bore you with just the mortgage stuff. I think the conversation has to go beyond that. And the reason why a lot of people don't succeed is because that's all they think about, right? The real estate side and the mortgage side. What about the personal development aspect of it, right? Learning the lessons. So when I say something about quit making the old story new again, have you ever been in that situation where you're just like, man, this is the same thing that I've done. I'm tired of it.
Several times.
Yeah,
When you start getting that accomplishment, there's too many times where you deserve a pat on the back.
Yeah,
but I
feels
always
good.
say it should be like a push forward at the same time because all of a sudden you'll start celebrating and relishing in that, and then you're not proceeding forward into that next step of what you're accomplishing.
It's almost like as soon as you accomplish that, it's almost like a sabotage at that point. You begin the process of the regression, right? So we progress to a certain level, and then once we reach it, then we start regressing without even knowing it. We still think we're on the path of progression, but we're really on the path of regression because we stopped doing the things that we were supposed to do. And this is very visible, right? With business, you're able to see that, oh, well, these were my good months and this is where I'm at now. And you can see that. You could also see that with people that, with weight issues, right? You'll see people hit a certain goal. I want to lose 30 pounds. I want to lose 40 pounds. And then as soon as they hit that, the process of regression now sets in.
And I've suffered from that. Same thing with the weight loss in the past.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And was it the same weight over and over again?
It happened twice. I had lost it the summer after my senior year of high school.
Yeah.
I lost 50 pounds.
Oh, nice.
I said, no longer a fat kid. I'm going to go into high school.
Yeah.
Be like, look at me now.
Yeah.
Went into high school.
What was the like? You had a goal. You wanted to go back to a reunion or something, or what was?
Well,
the
no,
goal?
it was before I started my freshman year of high school. So
Oh,
I
I
just
see.
didn't want to be the fat kid anymore.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And one of those things with family, always told like you're not good enough, you're pushed down,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm going to come out and just prove everybody wrong and do my thing. And
Yeah.
I lost all that weight. The last time it happened was when I got into a relationship with somebody and I was
Yeah.
depressed, and I just started drinking wine more, eating more food, and just put
gained
it
it.
right back on and
Yeah.
went back to where I was again, that insecure,
Yeah.
like overweight guy. And it's like, what is this?
Yeah, what
You know?
happened? Yeah.
And it's just regressing again.
And then you started the pathway again of losing the weight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of episodes like that. And it's because, we want that sense of accomplishment. You know what it takes to lose 50 pounds. And you're like, if I could do it once, then I can do it again.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. But what can you do after you lose that weight that you've already proven you can do, right?
And that's when you get to the next level.
Yes.
That's
that
the
is
game
growth.
changer right there.
That's the
growth.
game changer. Absolutely. And, this reminded me of a story. Like just a couple of months ago, I ran into a person. I don't want to give the details of who this individual was, but I ran into her into the parking lot, and she was very excited, very elated about, losing weight, 40 pounds, right? 40 pounds. And that's huge. Like, think about that. Anybody who's able to pull that off,
yeah.
hey, congratulations to you. Like, that is a big feat.
Huge accomplishment.
Now, and I know this person very well, love her to death, but, I think people need to really speak in I think people have the idea already. If we're gonna have conversations, it's true conversations, real conversations. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just having real conversations, right? Because part of my nature is like, if I can influence in a positive way, great. And I'm willing to take that as well. That's why I've hired like the best coaches, across the country for that same reason. Because I like to be spoken in truths. And here's the thing, the reality is this. My questions were very simple. I was like, oh, that's great. Was this in addition to the weight you lost the last time I saw you? She was like, no. And I said, well, what happened? Well, there was certain situations that happened, this happened, and I put on 50 pounds, but I lost 40 again. Mm-hmm. But the reality is that same game of winning at the same game. It's the process of winning at the same game over and over and over. And it feels good. Like everybody out there will applaud you. Hey, look at where they were and look at where they're at today. Mm-hmm. But we can take that same story and apply it 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 10 years ago.
So you're really living in the same comfort range.
You're
not
living in the
growing from
yes.
what it
The
was.
growth happens within the parameters of your current realities, right?
What you can tell yourself you can do.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't see beyond that and tell yourself, I can do more than this. I'm living in what I know I can do, so I'll get comfortable again, and then I'll do it again.
Yeah.
And I'll do it again and again.
And here's the thing. We all show it differently. Like, I've done that even with my marriage. I've done that with my businesses, dude. I had a pattern, and I've been able to identify it over the years, Jason, which is insane.
Yeah.
And it was all brought to me, it was brought up to my attention by Carla, because I had this pattern of winning at the game of business for about 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. And then somehow I would sabotage it by being distracted by going and trying to do something else, right?
Yeah.
And that would cause financial hardship for my family. That would cause issues. That would cause like money problems.
Probably stress at home, arguments.
Oh, yeah, all that.
Yeah.
But then again, what I would do, I was like, well, I'm going to go ahead and build this all back up again. The realities were like I was avoiding true growth.
Yeah, that
Like,
true next level.
Yeah, the true next level. And you'll see that within our industry. People are like burnt out. They're like, I don't like doing this anymore. I'm going to go try something else different. I'm going to start flipping properties. I'm going to go and do this, that, or the other. And then they eventually come back because they realize that it's not that they're burnt out in this business. It's that they're unwilling to get to the next level in the business because it takes so much more.
Yeah. It takes those extra steps, like, even at my company at Nova Home Loans,
Yeah.
we had a bunch of people leave.
Yeah.
Because they'd reach a certain level, right?
Yeah.
Well, then they're getting pushed out of their comfort range with all these different systems that we're going to give them to go
Yeah.
to the next level after that.
Yes.
But they don't want to do it because it's strange and it doesn't feel right to them.
It's not right. Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
my thing. The reason I'm going to be honest here. Like, I'm going to be honest. Like, I was prepared to shut AZ and Associates down in 2015. I was like,
Glad
F
you
this.
didn't do that.
Yeah, no kidding.
I wouldn't
I was
care.
like, forget this. I am done. And then Carla says, do you realize this is right around the 4-year pattern you got going on? about starting a venture and then quitting after that, or deciding you want to go do something else completely.
That's a good
oh
wife.
man, she knew the patterns.
Call you on your shit.
She called me on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, it's not. I went back to every financial situation we had for the last, 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
4 years like clockwork, man. I was just winning at the same game over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. I only took everything to a certain point. Mm-hmm. And then I couldn't take it. I was like either bored or I don't know. I just wanted to sabotage
Just didn't have the vision beyond that.
Yes, I didn't have the vision, and I didn't have the capacity to realize what it took to get to that next level, right? So here's the thing that I realized, dude. It wasn't that I was bored. I was unwilling to do the work required to take me there. I needed to put additional systems. I needed to get down to my marketing down to a T. I needed to be like a superstar when it came to that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I was unwilling to do it. I just was comfortable within my range of skill sets and saying, oh, I can do this and make 7 figures, no big deal. Mm-hmm. But it's like,
it's so strange that when you do that to yourself, because remember in the beginning of your career, how fun and interesting it was as you're learning, right?
Oh, yeah. Anything brand new is fun and interesting.
Yeah. But then you're cutting yourself off from that next level of learning. You're just like, no, I don't want to do it because I'm scared.
Yes. Yeah. And there's a true belief that I have in what we're creating here because I went deeper. Mm-hmm. I went deeper. Like everything brand new, it's all good. Everything's fun. Everything's kind of like when you get out of a relationship and you start dating, I'm sure, and everything's fun, everything's exciting
Start
until
working out more.
Yeah. And it's like, well, yeah, because it's new and exciting. But what if you would have worked on the relationship and gone deeper?
100%.
And that's what happened with Carla and I. We were like, okay, we're done with each other. Like this is too much. This is like the same shit over and over. But we decided to go deeper in the relationship, man. And this is it. Like I didn't realize there was this certain level of connection, I've realized I've experienced over the last 2.5 years, 3 years. Mm-hmm. These have been every year seems to get better from that low point that we had in 2014. Like this is it, and it's because I decided to go deeper, just like my businesses. Mm-hmm. I decided to go deeper and quit playing the story of the same game over and over and over again, which is making the old new again, right?
Yeah, just like the relationship. You bring flowers home because you messed up the day before. Mm-hmm. Constantly, same thing.
Yeah.
So are you giving flowers to her because you're sorry, or are you giving to her for a good reason?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's the same thing, starting that same cycle over and over.
It's the cycles, but I think this is very relevant. This is very, very relevant with everything that we do. And, if you really want to get to the next level, it really comes down to what are you avoiding? Mm-hmm. Because that shiny object or that new thing, you're just repeating the same patterns, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing. There's all these companies like on your side of it, on the real
mm-hmm.
estate side and on the lending side, they're offering all these shiny objects. Uh-huh. But do you really need that, or do you need to just set the groundwork and do the same thing to work every day, get better on that, and just keep doing the reps over and over?
Yeah, those
shiny objects don't get you anywhere. It's a quick fix.
They don't, and it's a lure. And the reality is it comes down to your efforts, right? Mm-hmm. And you've been witness to that, Jason. You've also you're a high producer. As a matter of fact, you're having your best month ever.
Thank you, sir.
That is number one mortgage broker for your company here in Maricopa County.
Yes, sir.
That's an unbelievable feat. Yeah. And that is the very reason I brought you here. Not only because you're a top producer, but it's what you do outside of just producing. Because there's a lot of people that can pound their chest all day long and say I'm the very best, but how else are you vested into what you do? How else are you vested with your body, with your family, with your children? And you're the epitome of that, dude. You're really encompass all of that. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on board, because we have the same belief systems here.
Yeah, we have the same belief systems. And the other thing was, I can't take credit for all. I took coaching from you too.
Yeah.
And that helped me get to that next level. I was, literally now I'm getting up at 5. I go work out.
Yeah. I love it.
I drink my smoothie. I go, spend time with my daughter before I go work out in the morning.
That's beautiful,
Sometimes
man.
she's awake. I'm practicing those things at home, that putting that system in place of just practice over and over.
It really is the reps, right? If you want something great, you have to put in the time. For me, I just expected, love and appreciation from my wife without not really putting much into it. The same thing for my kids. I remember chastising them for not saying hi to me when I would get home, but yet I wouldn't spend the time with them. So why was I expecting all this? And it's like expecting something great from your company when you're not fully vested into what it's required to be successful.
We're not cavemen. We're not going out and getting a meal and killing something and bringing it home and then like, you should just love me.
Yeah.
Because I did this.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
It's a modern age now. You can't do that anymore. You can't sit on your laurels and think your wife's just going to appreciate you because of that.
No,
There's
it's
more.
like they can do it themselves. It's not like the 1950s, right? Where it's like women in business, like, what the hell is that? It's like that not only they're in business, but they're dominating this game as well, right? So it's like if you have that type of mindset, it's going to unravel very quickly. Because you're asking your wife to suppress herself, to suppress her ambitions and goals, and just love you unconditionally. And that's what, dude, I'll put it out there. That's what I expected. I was like, looking back, I'm like, you're an idiot.
Me too. I'm just thinking, hey, I'm paying the bills. I'm bringing good money in. You got clothes.
Look what you're driving.
Look at
the house you're living in.
Yeah.
Look at your shoes. Look at the little red thing on the back.
Other women would love to have what you have. That's so wrong. It's so
terrible.
Dude. You know, it's terrible, man. And that just spawns from our insecurities as a man, because if that woman rises and comes up, then a lot of men just want to suppress it because they feel insecure about what they're doing with themselves, and it's like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Like, why not do it together?
Exactly.
You know?
And that is, and guess what? You know, we can enable each other to be stronger, or we can enable each other to be weaker. And that those are the realities. But those are the things that, you know, when you're both on the same page, that's when real growth happens. Like when Carla and I got on the same page, like not only did our relationship flourish, not only did like our family flourish, but the business took off. And it was because I didn't have to worry so much about knowing or accusing her of not being on the same page with me. But then again, I wasn't vested. So it was real easy for me to blame, right? And vice versa. She would blame me for a lot of things as well. But when we started taking responsibility for how we showed up, like that's no longer a stress I have today. Like I know Carla and I are good. Like we're really good. So I'm not thinking about that. We're sucking my energy from being able to grow the business.
Yeah.
And that's so important, right?
Oh, it's really important. Like I'm basically I'm recently married. So I'm trailing behind you in those aspects. You know, we just had a baby. We're learning that balance with each other. But I'm also learning that, you know, she has a hard time feeling strong in herself. So but I can't give that to her. She has to do it herself, but I can't suppress it at the same time.
Well, I mean, there's a world shocked for. I know Carla went through that too when she had a baby. It's like, oh man, like, you know, so much vested in the baby and the family and everything that oftentimes they lose themselves, right? And for us to play the hero, it's not the right process.
We can't fix it.
We can't. And it's about they will find their way. They don't need a savior. There is my wife will run circles around me and certain things, but it's like not playing that role. I think is vital for a lot of men. Not to be there thinking that you need to save them. They need to figure out their own things, just like we need to figure out our own things. And together we could come together, right? We can come together and create, you know, mutual goals and ambitions. But the single goals that's up to the individual. Yeah, right? It's up to the individual. But yeah, you did go through the coaching program. Like, how has that impacted? Like, besides you said you're working out, you're doing all this other thing, but just overall, man, how's?
So when I came to you about the coaching, I had reached levels of success. I was in the top 1% in the nation, stuff like that, right? Yeah. I've done well with what I do for a living, but there's other aspects of my life that I was seeing things that were not being where they need to be, like my marriage, some with my health, things like that. So what we're talking about is we're basically talking about upper limit in some ways. You know, I got to an upper limit, and I said, I've done this before. Yeah. I'm not going to scoot backwards again. I'm not going to fall back downhill. Yeah. So I came to you, and now it's just that fine-tuning that starts to get to that next level of doing the things there and getting to where you need to be. You know, not being scared of that growth. And I had to do it. And sometimes you have to have coaching. Somebody has to instill what you already know and push you that way.
I felt the same way. You know, I felt into that same rut in 2013. I spent most of the year just looking for a voice to speak to me. And I was lucky enough to find a few coaches that helped me along the path. But all I needed was perspective. All I needed was a different outlook of what my realities were, right? I could only see as far as I knew. Yeah. I couldn't see beyond that, and that hence comes the upper limit. You know, the upper limit is when things start feeling too good or maybe are unknown, right? We retract, we regress. But I think as men, and I can only speak for men, right? I can only speak for myself, actually. There's a certain point that if we're not doing the right things, we begin to really shut down.
and sabotage.
And sabotage, really. And it's almost like a depressive, going through the motions type of stage. And I went through that for a couple of years. And I really thought, Jason, like something was wrong with me. Like innately wrong. I thought it was these tragic experiences that I went through when I was younger. I was like, man, in my 30s, this is just all hitting me now.
Yeah.
And maybe there was some truth to that, but the realities were my conscious, my subconscious, my unconscious knew that I was just playing at a very small level. The way I was showing up to life was just not the way I was supposed to go. And that depressive state, or the going through the motion state, had to do with exactly that. I was out of integrity with myself. I think my subconscious knew what I was capable of, but I was operating from a level much lower. So that gap right there was me like carrying all that burden of not feeling fulfilled. Right?
Yeah.
And I think we all go through that, especially as very successful businessmen, right?
Yeah,
this is something
exactly.
and the very reason why you decided to even reach out.
I mean, that's why I reached out. It's just, some of it rooted from when you're younger, family making you not feel like you're good enough.
Right.
But some people can use that as fire.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you get to a certain point, you're like, well, look at me. It's kind of like a kid, like, look at me, Dad, look what I did.
Yeah.
Well, is that enough? Like, is there something next after that?
Right.
Like, do you keep pushing? Like, once you get that accomplishment and the attention, that sometimes that's not enough.
That's
like,
not enough.
You got to learn.
Yeah. And I think in this industry, it's real easy to just strive for the accomplishments. I'm the number one at this. I sell so much, but I see success in all aspects. It's like I want to see it all, everything good. Like I want to be able to, like for me, my whole philosophy is like, if you look how I communicate with my wife and the way I'm committed in that aspect, it is the very thing you will get from my business. And when you look at my business, the strength of it, right? The energy of it, it is the same thing that you will see in my body. And when you look at my body, on how I feel and where I'm going and how I take care of it, that's the same thing that I put into my family. So I want like every aspect to kind of intertwine.
Yeah.
So when I see success, that's great. Hey, you sold all these millions, but how's your quality of life, dude?
Oh, man, like we were talking about earlier, there's so many of these people out there that they can't let go of that aspect. It's I'm so accomplished at my job, and my wife is at home taking care of the kids. And like we're saying, she should just love me. But then you see where they almost belittle them and make them feel bad. And,
condescending.
And then they start sabotaging themselves at work because they're depressed. And then all of a sudden that goes back down again. And then they're just going back uphill all over again.
And they do things instead of fixing the issue or realizing that there's some things that they may not. They'll sedate it like I did. Oh, they'll start the drinking. They'll start the happy hours. They'll start the going out every weekend. And before you know it, it just becomes the norm, which is a very low level, a very low standard.
Yeah, and going out and trying to chase these accounts and get these people to work with you and spending all their money trying to impress the people that really don't matter at the end of the day.
And then treat your wife like crap.
Exactly. Like you're gonna take her and go to like some crappy little restaurant, but you're gonna take this guy out and spend all this money on him who just wants your money. He just wants your time and to use you for what he needs.
Oh, I've seen this in this industry so much. With mortgage reps and title reps, they do a song, and I feel bad for them sometimes because there's a lot of agents from our side that take advantage of that, right? They feel like they have to do this song and dance to impress the agent for future business, and they try to cater to them and bend over backwards at every moment and do all these things only to go back home and give the worst of themselves to their family, the ones that deserve the very best.
I've been guilty of that.
Oh, dude.
So for real. So what was it? 4 years ago, I started seeing you on Facebook, you and your wife, watching, following you, and I'm like, something about this guy.
Right.
Like, wait, who does he think he is? And then it's like going up and down into cycle, and then you're like, no, he gets it. Like I started watching it, and I've worked with several real estate companies and brokerages, and I'm not going to go negative or anything like that, but the mindset you had where it's just be humble, coachable, honest, like just do the right things, right? It attracted me. And that's what I'm seeing in the agents here. You're seeing agents that are going out just doing work here that is just establishing this great groundwork where they're doing more business than most of these agents out there. They're chasing these objects or getting lenders to buy them this or buy them that or do this kind of stuff. It's real basic, you know.
It really is about, delivering on their service. Like my loyalty wasn't based on the gifts that I got or this suite that I was taken to. It's always how you can deliver. And that's why, I invited you to become one of our preferred agent, preferred mortgage brokers here, because you deliver on what your job is, period.
Yeah.
That's what my clients want. That's what I want. Like, I don't care about the lunches. I don't care about, the sweets or this, that, or the other. It's like, I can do that on my own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't need these things. And at the same time, you're not catering because you're just delivering the service.
Yeah. I'm not here to try to like over impress anybody. I'm here I'm going to bring a platform where I'm going to show you the value.
Yeah.
Your productivity is going to go up because I'm going to spend those extra minutes in time, with the borrower and they're figuring things out.
You've saved so many deals for us, Jason. Other turndowns from other companies. And it's because of that simple process right there that you've implemented with each client that you deal with, which is take the time.
Yeah.
Really learn about the entire situation. And then you come up with a solution. And that's made you very, very successful. In fact, you're having the best month ever.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, me and the team we're closing 44 transactions.
44.
This month.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
That's
huge.
I've never done that before. But it's the commonality between you guys and me. It's I go in, I spend the time. I don't want to take no for an answer. And same with the agents there. They go in, they spend the time, they do the work that's involved to figure out what they got to do for this person to help them get into the house and buy it. And there's too many people that are just transaction focused.
Oriented, yeah, of course. They want to see the big numbers.
Yeah, they're just thinking about the paycheck.
Yeah.
I got a guy, will do a $150,000 loan for him, right? Somebody else turned it down. That guy's going to refer me the dude that he might be doing the landscaping for that's a $500,000 deal.
Yep.
You never know where it's going to come from.
And it always is. It's treating everyone with the same, dignity and respect. And I don't say that, giving that same level of service. That's what it comes down to. And I've always been that guy, like, my loyalty is only as good as the service people provide or the value they provide. And some people are like, "Oh, that's harsh, Hazy." But the reality is, why are we tolerating like lower standards? Like, even in relationships with me, like friends that I have or colleagues that I talk to on a constant basis, I'm not in it for loyalty. I'm in it because there's still mutual value going back and forth. I know that the next person's working on themselves. They're growing. They're doing things that will increase their capacity. So the conversations are constantly improving. The conversations are constantly growing, right? But if somebody's not vested and it's the same story over and over and over again, that becomes an anchor on the other person. You're doing the other person a disservice.
100%.
So like I only expect loyalty based on the value that I provide, not on because we've known each other for so long.
Yeah, you start getting you start expecting you know me. You should
kind of
just
like
do
the this.
Wife
thing.
we
talked about. Kind of like
it's the same thing in business and relationships. It's I've been recruited by a lot of companies, and I actually went out with the owner one time, and we go to lunch, and the waitress walks up. He's so cold and mean and arrogant to this person.
And that told you everything.
And it's just like no matter where you are in life, that level is everybody deserves the same respect.
Right.
And it's just what you can do, like with your job and just doing your job well. It doesn't matter what the job is. And that's the problem with too many people around. They don't respect each other, based on their level in life.
And that's exactly it. But, it really is about true value. It really is about just being aware. I guess the whole topic here is just being aware of the actions, right? If you can't learn from your old mistakes or learn how you're approaching life, it's not going to leave a lot of room for growth. And you've been able to reach that type of success because you become more aware of how you approach life in all aspects of your life. And, for me, like you waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go work out, like that's what really motivates me too. It's like, I want to make sure that I'm taking care of my body first and foremost. Like I can't roll into this podcast. I can't roll into this meeting that we just have if I just rolled out of bed. Yeah,
exactly.
It's not going to come in with the same energy. Yeah, I can pull it off, but it's not going to be the same energy. But when I know I've consumed the right things, that I've worked on my body, that I've beaten myself up and created more pain for myself than anything outside of that can create for me, I'm winning.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Like today I had to do, my shoulders are still sore and I'm probably not swimming correctly, but I did 1,700 yards on swimming. That's a lot of laps.
It's a lot of laps.
Yeah.
The Navy SEALs test at 500 meters.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So
I'm a Navy SEAL 3 times over. All right. But, those are the type of personal, like I brought the pain to myself because the pain allows me to grow a capacity for myself. So anything beyond that, how can it affect me? I come in here, any business problems, I'm like, I got this.
It's the little things that some people don't do that will take you to that next level. Like when you're working out and you get that next rep and you're like, no, I'm good enough. No. If you don't take that next rep, then you're not willing to push the next level in your job too. The same thing. It's just those little things of keep pushing forward that, it just doesn't happen. It's small metrics that lead to big metrics.
It really is. It's the small steps to be able to pull off the big things, right? The big opportunities that afford themselves. And, for me, it's more just a conditioning process. I do the same thing over and over and over and over again because it's one of those things where it builds a foundation for me. We're exercising every day and drinking my green smoothie thereafter. I just know I'm going to show up. I know I can be committed. I know I can be consistent. If I can be consistent with that, I can be consistent with anything. And consistency is what really creates growth. It really creates financial freedom. Right. And it bonds relationships. It's like consistency is the basis and the foundation of it all in whatever you do.
Anything. I mean,
whether it's a good habit or whether it's a good positive thing or a bad thing, it was all culmination of consistency.
Like, not to sound cliche, like all these inspiring posters and all that stuff, but the Grand Canyon, right? Okay. It was air and water constantly hitting that over and over and over again, and it got shaped. It's the same thing with us in business and body and everything else.
Yeah, it really is. And here's the thing. It creates a newfound confidence as a person, right? And there's a difference between confidence and arrogance.
Yeah. No,
there is a huge difference.
Huge difference.
And I think sometimes it's mistaken as one for the other. But
I get that all the time. I actually had a new assistant that I hired, and she heard from a few people that there was an arrogant side of that. And if you ask anybody in my staff, no, I think I'm humble.
Well, from the outside in, people that don't know you probably see something, but it's maybe something they're triggering within themselves,
their
right?
Own insecurities, they feel threatened.
And the realities are, it's just about the confidence of it all. And it's one of those things where people just know that somehow you'll figure it out. That's my whole, like, for me, it's like, I may not have everything figured out, but somehow I always figure it out. And it's because I have that confidence within myself that if I'm given a simple plan or I create a plan and just enough time, I'm going to be able to pull it off. That's no question about it. I've always figured it out. Yeah. Even the deepest of financial issues that I've been through, even the pits and the darkness of my marriage, I figured those things out, right?
Yeah.
And it builds that confidence through the reps of doing the same things over and over, the good right things, right? Because everybody's committed to something.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's committed to something. If people are financially not where they need to be, they're committed to being exactly that.
Where they are, yeah.
And if they're overweight or unhealthy or drink too much, well, they're committed to being exactly that. So it's a beautiful thing, man. And I love the patterns. I love to see what you've created, man. Your business is exploding.
You too.
You and watching you and your wife, how you guys communicate and the bond you guys have. I love watching that, man. And it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you for some of that too, man.
Oh, bro, I appreciate that. You've done the work. At the end of the day, you've leaned in, and you've done it. And that's when I think we all need to be open to that, not thinking regardless of how much success, because you could have easily said, "Well, I've been very successful for many years. I don't need to listen to this dude, or I don't need to go there." But it was because you were coachable, because you were, I guess I don't want to use the word humble, but you were
humble, hungry, coachable.
Hungry, yeah, hungry, and to be able to see a different perspective.
I can learn from anyone. It doesn't matter. I listen to guys that are half my age, and I hear stuff. I'm like, damn. Or I'll see people, doing their social media posts, and I'm like, who is this guy? You know what? I need to do better.
Yeah.
I need to grow from this. And when you regress from that point and you get defensive and you get negative and say, forget this guy, he's stupid, blah, blah, blah. Really, you should take it as a challenge to be better. Like, I'm going to grow. I'm going to rise from this,
And you have, man, your marketing game's on point, your business is on point. Even the people that you've hired, they're just all within the same energy level of being able to deliver at a very high level. And I'm going to say this, Jason, I mean, whether you're with AZ & Associates or whether you're just an agent here in Maricopa County, like, you want someone to deliver for you, I'm going to highly recommend Jason Smith. Jason, where can people, or how can they reach you? We have a lot of agents listening to us. Where can they reach you if they're running into a problem? And a lot of them have their own, preferred lender, which is okay.
Yeah.
But if the type of service starts to falter, you need to start looking at other options. I mean, that is the only reality. You cannot lower your standard just because a relationship is in place. It really has to come down to the value the person is providing. So just because there is a relationship, do not allow your standards to be lowered. If you ever run into that, or the type of level of service is not there, or they can't close the transactions, I'm going to encourage you to reach out to Jason from Nova Home Loans. And you already know the reputation that Nova has. They're just an elite company and deliver at high levels. So you have an elite player within that spectrum. It'll deliver on everything that you need. So Jason, how can they reach you if they would like to work with you or look at a file, right?
Yeah, I mean, they can reach out to me on social media. I'm everywhere. They can call my cell phone, which is 480-227-6231. Call, text me. Doesn't matter what kind of time of day.
Yeah.
But on average, just plug it in there. Agents' productivity usually goes up about 15% just working with me, as I'll take the extra mile for it.
Exactly. And you'll take those turndowns and make them into not only happy homeowners, but a happy agent delivering on that home. And so I'm going to highly encourage you that if you're in this game and you're looking for someone that's going to deliver a high level with the utmost integrity, you got to reach out to Jason Smith.
And vice versa. If you're looking for a brokerage that's going to help push you to the next level and maybe make you feel uncomfortable, but you need that to get there, same with you.
That's it, Jason. And to plug that in, thank you for that setup.
Yeah.
We do lead our market on sales per agent, which is, at the end of the day, that's what matters the most. Mm-hmm. If the company is successful, but their agents are well below average, then who's winning there, right?
And it comes from the coaching and teaching them how to fill in those little spots that everybody else isn't filling in.
And we do really focus on growing their individual businesses. We treat our agents not simply as realtors, but as small business owners. And with that, teaching the systems that will help their marketing, their sales, applying the appropriate systems. And one final key to that, leadership, right? How to lead their clients, how to lead the title company, the mortgage broker, the other agents, clients sometimes. That is how you close transactions, when you can lead. So these are the skill sets that we teach here. And Jason, again, man, thank you for joining me for this episode of Badass Agents Podcast. And for those of you that are watching us, I mean, start thinking about where in your life, right, you're making the old new again, the old story new again. It's time to raise the bar by challenging yourself, not to just stop wherever you're at. Get outside of that and reach that next level. And there's so much opportunities that come from that when you're just able to keep going. But if you're interested in joining AZ and Associates Real Estate Group, I'm going to invite you to go to badassagents.com. Go to badassagents.com and apply. And you and I can have a one-on-one. Thank you again, Jason.
Thanks,
and we will talk to you soon. Have a great day, everyone. Bye now.